The waiver wire is very interesting as we head into week 7. We got a lot of players to look at who could provide an impact for us in fantasy. We have a lot of ambiguous running backs. Nobody off the chain, nobody with superior upside, but running backs who could be getting touches. But there's no backfield in the NFL that's more ambiguous than the Rams backfield, as Kyren Williams is injured, Ronnie Rivers is injured, and now we have Zach Evans as the incumbent stepping up, and they keep bringing in other running backs. Myles Gaskin, Royce Freeman, Darrell Henderson back in the fold. This is a backfield that is filled with jabronis, and now we got to see who's going to be the guy who takes over while Kyren Williams is out. Who's going to be that running back who gets the touches? Who's going to be that running back who catches the ball out of the backfield? Who's going to be the goal line back? We're going to look at all those running backs, decide who do you need in fantasy football, go over the news, the stats, the data, the advanced metrics, so you can decide who you want for your fantasy team. But what you want to do right now is click that subscribe button. Tap it with your finger on your phone. Click it with your mouse. Whatever you need to do to get the job done, because we're doing these deep dives on the waiver wire every single day on these lesser known prospects. We're helping you set your lineups, we're helping you get those trades done, and we're helping you win your league. But let's look at these Rams running backs. Let's try and see what's going on, and let's try and make a decision here, and we'll go over the stats and data, and then maybe you can find a running back you like out of this backfield. The Rams run the risk of being down 2 running backs this week. Kyren Williams is out. He's in a boot. And Ronnie Rivers has a PCL. Ronnie Rivers is probably going to be out for a bit. Kyren Williams might be back sooner than later. We're just going to have to watch and see what happens with him. But he's going to be out for a little bit. He's going to be out for a while. Both running backs are down. Zach Evans next man up. And they kept bringing in running backs over the last 24 to 48 hours. Darrell Henderson was brought to their practice squad. He's not on the 53 yet. He's on the practice squad. That's an important tidbit for the now. Royce Freeman was activated to their active roster from the practice squad. And then they picked Myles Gaskin up off the Vikings practice squad. So now the 53 has Zach Evans, Royce Freeman, Myles Gaskin, and the practice squad has Darrell Henderson. Henderson used to play for the Rams last few years, left the team last year. Royce Freeman's bounced around the league a little bit now. He's been on the practice squad with the Rams. Myles Gaskin, primarily with the Dolphins throughout his career, went to the Vikings, bounced around the league a little bit. Now we're with the Rams. Zach Evans is the incumbent here. Zach Evans was the draft pick for the Rams in this year's draft. Fell to them in the draft. He had a tremendous profile coming out of college. 5-star recruit, and really did not live up to that status. He had some production at TCU during his first 2 seasons there. His second season, he had over 100 yards a game, then got hurt. So if he would have finished that season healthy, had a full year there, that really would have impacted his prospect profile. Probably would have really increased his stock coming out for the draft. But he transfers to Ole Miss, becomes the 1B back, the second back to Judkins there. Still gets about 900 yards rushing. Now we're here with the Rams. We don't see much from him till week 6, where he plays 11% of the snaps, gets 4 rushing attempts, 10 yards, 2.5 yards per carry, and that's it. We got 1 fantasy point out of him on the season. If you would have said that 2 years ago, you've been kind of surprised, because you've been expecting him to be one of the best rookies out of this draft class. A lot of people were talking him up, and then you look at his prospect profile, even the combine numbers does not match what you see on tape from what we saw in college, at Ole Miss, at TCU, because he is dangerous in the open field. He's dangerous when he sees the second level. Zach Evans has some talent, but he did not live up to it. That's why he fell to the 6th round. That's why every team passed on him multiple times. Also, this was a stacked running back class. It was a deep running back class. The demand was not there, and the supply was high, which means talented players will fall a little bit farther. We saw that with some of these running backs. Zach Evans, though, You can paint a picture here why he fell in the draft, though. He had a lofty status coming out of high school, 5-star recruit, recruited by just about every school in the country, went to TCU. Initially, did not live up to the status. Looks like we were getting there during his sophomore season. Got hurt, transferred to Ole Miss, went to Ole Miss, did not take over. Even with Judkins there, who is a very good running back, he did not take over. Now we go to the NFL, he's not taking over. But when you watch him on the field, there was a couple plays in preseason where he got more yards than expected than what was blocked for. But still, he's not taking over. He's not getting it done. Royce Freeman, on the other hand, on the practice squad, old veteran here, dependable, 6 foot, 238 pounds. We have size. He can catch the ball in the backfield a little bit. Has a lot of experience. We have not seen anything out of him really here in 2023, but we've seen a lot over the course of his career. We only have one game since 2020 where he scores double-digit fantasy points. However, 2018, 2019, a little bit of production. 521 rushing yards as a rookie, 496 second year, 8 touchdowns in those years combined, 8 touchdowns on his career on the ground. Not a super productive running back. Prospect profile-wise, good size, adjusted athleticism. It's okay. It's a little bit ho-hum, but he's dependable. He's bounced around the league a little bit. He's got some experience. He's a guy that you can see getting some goal line carries, some short yardage work, a little bit of usage in the passing game. We saw that in college. He can do a little bit. He's a safe player. Is he going to go off and be a random RB1 any given week? Probably not, even if given the full workload. That's something you're going to see out of Royce Freeman. The contract here, he's got decent money for what he is. He got $1 million base salary, so they're looking to use him. They signed him. They're paying him a little bit, so he's getting a little scratch, so he's getting a little bit of opportunity there. Then we go to Myles Gaskin. 4 years experience, was with the Dolphins, showed a little bit of promise, never really hit. With the Dolphins, though, looks like he had some upside there because the Dolphins give everybody upside. With the Rams, different story. Not the best run-blocking unit out there, but they're better in the passing game to the running backs, a la Kyren Williams, a la seeing him get the job done. But he has been productive in fantasy football terms since 2020. Recently, it's been on the low, but 2021, 2020... we've seen some production here because he's good in the passing game. However, 2019, 133 rushing yards. 2020, 584 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 612 in 2021 with 3 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns on his career. But you're seeing multiple games here with double-digit fantasy production here. That's good to see. That means they've given the opportunity. He might fit well in this offense. He might do well in the passing game. He kind of looks like he could do that. And then you look at the athletic specs here. Good enough to get the job done. And you know what? Kyren Williams does not grade as well in the athleticism department as he does. Maybe he could be a hitter here. Maybe he could surprise us. All he needs to do is work his way up, get some opportunity. But that might take some time. Right now, Zach Evans is the lead back, or appears to be the lead back, because he's the incumbent. He's got more experience in this offense. Then you got Royce Freeman there. He's got a little bit of experience too. Gaskin's the new guy, but he also has a little bit of experience in the system. And then Darrell Henderson has a lot of experience in the system. But there's a reason why he wasn't on the team. There's a reason why he bounced around the league a little bit and was hanging out there in the abyss. This is not a running back that can go bonkers in a roster and a lineup. He was sitting there on waivers. They plucked him. But he has been productive here with the Rams. We've seen some opportunity here. Even last year, you got a little bit of something out of him. But once he left the team, it did not go as hot. Last year, he had 283 yards and 3 touchdowns. The year prior, 688 yards, 5 touchdowns on 149 carries. Year prior, 625 and 5 touchdowns. Those were his best years, 2020 and 2021. As you can tell by the fantasy production there, multiple weeks of double-digit fantasy performances, and you're seeing some RB1 performances as well, along with some RB2 performances. He can get the job done in this offense, but right now he's on the practice squad. It's hard to put a chip on him right now. They're trying to get him in shape, get him acclimated, get him back ready to rock and roll. That being said, you may have to wait a little bit. Darrell Henderson has enough gusto to get it done. We've already seen this. We see this in the numbers. We just got to get him ready to rock and roll. And look at that comparison when you look at the numbers. Myles Gaskin's already on the 53. So this is going to be an interesting group of running backs to watch. As you see, Kyren Williams is out. Ronnie Rivers is out. Williams was getting most of the snaps. He is the biggest deal here, because he was getting almost 100% opportunity share in a lot of those games. But now he's out. He's gone. Zach Evans, the incumbent, looks like he's going to be getting his opportunity. He's got a ton of upside. He's a guy that could surprise you and be an RB1. However, the downside is highly likely with this guy because he showed you a lot of his downside throughout his collegiate career, a little bit in the recruiting process, going to college, a little bit at the combine. It just hasn't been too spiffy. He does not live up to his upside. But if he decides to live up to his upside, you got a ball player here. You got a guy that could go off. And looking at this meme that I found on Twitter, Zach Evans, everybody's blowing their wad on him. And that's okay, because he does have that upside. He is a lottery ticket that could go off, but he's one of those lottery tickets that's highly likely to be just trashed on the ground. It's highly likely to be that, but if it cashes, it's going to cash big. And none of these other running backs here on the roster are going to be able to do that. They don't have that opportunity. However, that lottery ticket could be trash. Remember that. Darrell Henderson, he's been in this offense before. He's on practice squad. You're probably not running out and getting a practice squad player right now, but you at least got to have that finger on the trigger ready to pull just in case he gets moved up. And that could be next week. That could be right before Sunday. Royce Freeman was already on the roster. Royce Freeman has some size. The size indicates goal line looks. Touches on the red zone means touchdown potential. Touchdown potential, good fantasy production. Myles Gaskin has that gusto in his game, has some athleticism left, can be used in the passing game. And then the Rams assistant coach was also his college coach, so he does have some time in the system. So that is something you want to know about. Maybe he works his way up. Maybe he'll give you some upside. When you rank the upside, it goes Evans, Gaskin, Henderson, Freeman. And it's a push between Gaskin and Henderson because Henderson showed upside here. Freeman's upside is crossing the goal line, but he's not going to rumble consistently in this offense considering the run blocking is kind of jagged. Zach Evans could go off here, but we don't really see him hit his upside either. We don't really see him being consistent, but he's a guy you want to try and get, at least for the short term. I like Gaskin too because of the upside. Henderson, I'm waiting on. I'm watching. Maybe he's a waiver wire get next week. Royce Freeman. If you need a guy who might cross the goal line this week, he's a guy you may want to look at. But the main thing I'm thinking about this running back depth chart, it's gross. It's a committee of jabronis. Zach Evans has upside, and he could hit it. But the odds of him being consistent and the odds of the coaches trusting him on a long-term basis, and if he's not on fire out of the gate, we don't see him hit that upside. We don't see him getting enough opportunity to be able to run with it. Freeman could be getting some goal line looks. He could get you some short-term fantasy production. Gaskin has some upside. He's got to earn the touches. He's got to earn the workload. That might not be this week. That could be in the next few weeks. Darrell Henderson, got to get off the practice squad, got to get those touches, and he's got to look like he did a couple years ago for him to get that. But again, Evans is the upside guy. He's the incumbent. Everybody's going after him. He could hit his upside, which is grandiose, which is huge. Gaskin has a little bit of upside. Freeman has some touchdown potential, but overall, it's gross. Pick your poison, see what happens. Again, after your waivers run through, you got a cheap one that's sitting there looking at you. Probably Gaskin, probably Freeman. Take the cheap one, see what happens. or pay up and get Evans and see what happens. After all, everybody was after him during the draft process before he fell out of the draft into the 6th round because people were expecting him to go a lot higher than where he got selected. But let me know who you're trying to get right now off waivers, which running back you like, because there's a case for each one of them. We're seeing a lot of people talk them up a little bit, and I can understand why. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.